Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have over 25 Dollar Tree DIYs for you. Lots of fun decor for spring and summer, including a tier tray. I picked up one of these garden signs from the Dollar Tree, a spring sign that says welcome, has a honeybee on there, and two of their wood shelves from the Dollar Tree, and one of the burlap rolls with the honeycomb on there. I think that's so cute. I love all of the bee-themed burlaps. They're so fun to craft bee DIYs with. Now for the sign itself, I'm going to make it with two of these shelves. I think it's going to be the perfect size, and I love crafting with these from the Dollar Tree. They're the little hanging wall shelves. Because they're nice and thick, they don't bow very easily, and they're made out of real wood, so you can stain them and stuff if you want to. I'm going to be covering this one with burlap to give us a fun background. To attach it, they're thick enough to be able to just glue them together. So I just do a bead of hot glue and push the two signs together, and it's sturdier than you might think. I don't really have to reinforce it or anything like that. And I thought that would be the perfect size for that little welcome bee sign. Now to cover it with burlap, this is the burlap from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to unroll it. The only thing I don't like about how they package it is that it's really wrinkled, right? So to work with it a little bit easier, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over and just iron it with my Cricut Easy Press here. I don't get all of the wrinkles out of it, but I get enough of it out of it makes it easier to work with. And this is a pretty large sign, so I'm going to be using most of this burlap to cover it. So that looks better. I'm also going to cut out a piece that's a little bit larger than what I need, and then I can kind of cut it down to size. I want to line up the honeycombs the best that I can, so I could kind of see through it, where I could kind of line up what would be like horizontal or even lining them up and down. And then I'm going to cover the entire board with Mod Podge, and you're going to need more than you think with this. I did like 2 or 3 coats. I wanted to make sure that I could attach the burlap to it without having to add any Mod Podge on top. You can usually tell that it has glue on it, so I wanted that not to be very visible. And I tried to line it up the best that I can and smooth it out with just a paper towel to make it have contact with all of the glue and get rid of any like bubbling or anything like that. I used my heat gun to dry it, and now we can cut this down to size. I'm just going to use some sharp scissors and try to get as close to the wood as I can. I don't want you to be able to see any of the wood sign, but I also don't want it to have any raveling or anything like that like burlap does. Usually just having the Mod Podge there around the edge is enough to seal that and prevent that from raveling out. But I'm just going to go around and cut it all the way around. I think this is going to be a really fun background for that little bee sign. Now this does have holes already in it that you can use for a hanger, and I think I'll do that just so I won't have to add a hanger to the back. I'm just making sure all the corners are glued down and I don't have any raveling on the sides. And then I go in and just kind of find out where the holes are on the sign and just poke them in there. I like to use the little Cricut weeder from Dollar Tree to poke some holes in there so I can then add some twine to make a hanger. I'm using kind of the thicker twine for this, so it's a little bit challenging to get it through those holes sometimes. What I do is usually put a little hot glue here on the tip, and it keeps it from fraying. It makes it a little bit sturdier to be able to hold up to going through that little wood hole there, and then I tie it on the front. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. I wanted to go ahead and do the hanger before I start adding stuff to it. And again, I'm going to burn off the fuzzies on this because it was a little wild looking. And definitely add some hot glue on the tip of this one too. And if you do kind of get it in there and it does start getting stuck a little bit like this one did, a pair of pliers can work to help pull that through without causing any damage. And I just knot it here on the front. Now it's time to add our little bee sign to this. I think the honeycomb is a nice subtle backdrop for it. This is a hanging sign, and so I'm just going to cut off the twine hanger on here, and I'll actually use those holes to attach it to the wood sign. It's a nice sturdy sign, so I can use some tacks to tack it down. I'm using the little velvet push pins from Dollar Tree, and the board is pretty hard, so I'm gonna have to use a hammer to put this in here. When I start to hammer mine in, I did notice that this one, the velvet part, like broke off, but then I kind of liked it like that. Like it is a really fun brass color, and so I was like, I'll just kind of go with that, and I'll break my other one on purpose too. So just making sure it is level. I hammer this one in and break off the little velvet top on it. The last step I want to do is frame it, and I'm going to do that with some of the Dollar Tree brown rope. It's going to just kind of tie everything in together, and I just love using rope for bee crafting. So I'm going to start actually on the corner. Sometimes I don't, because it can get a little tricky to round that corner if you're going to use one piece of rope all the way around like I did. But this one actually seemed to work pretty well. So I do a bead of hot glue here on the bottom, and I overlap the end just a little bit with my rope. And I'm just going to continue that all the way around. You could cut 4 individual pieces, but then you're going to have to deal with the fraying rope on all 4 corners. And I think it looks a little cleaner when you have the rounded edges like this. For the top, I just make sure that my hanger is kind of tucked underneath my sign so it doesn't get caught in my hot glue. And I just go all the way around. Here at the end, I'm just going to use some hot glue to blend that last corner to make it look rounded as well. And it actually worked out pretty well. I think I did a good job of cutting like the perfect length there, just using a little hot glue and blending that together. Super cute, a welcome sign. This would look great next to your front door or even on your door for spring or summer. Really a fun design, and it's painted so well for a Dollar Tree sign. I'm just burning off any fuzzies on that rope, and this is how it turned out, our little welcome bee sign. Now, I think that the bee sign this year at Dollar Tree was slightly different. This is the one from last year, but you could do the same thing. And you could always do like a burlap on the background without the honeycomb pattern, but I really think that adds a lot to it. But I thought this was really fun. I displayed this in my entryway. Great for spring and summer. I love bee decor. It's always one of my favorites. I hope you're enjoying today's video. If you are, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my page, and be sure to hype this video if you're on your phone. Now, the next DIY, I wanted to make like a bee skep vase with grass in it. So I'm using one of these black plastic vases from the Dollar Tree, and I thought we could wrap it with Dollar Tree rope to make it look like a bee skep. So this is the rope that I'm using. This is the skinnier, longer brown rope from the Dollar Tree. And I want to wrap the entire vase with that. And I'm going to do that by starting at the bottom. So I just cut the plastic off, and I just hot glue as close to the bottom as I can get. I'm not going to do the very bottom of the vase. I just want to go all the way to the edge. And then I glue that in place all the way around. And then I'm going to keep using that same piece of rope to keep wrapping it around. When you're kind of going up at this point, you don't need any glue. All you have to do is wrap it, and that's what I'm doing, trying to keep my rope tight together so that I don't have any gaps so you can't see the black through. And then I'm just going to glue down the end. That's how far one package got me. And then I can just start a new package. I did have to start and stop 3 times. And so, or I used 3 ropes. So I have multiple seams. I just made sure that all of my seams were on the back of the vase, so they were all like on the same side. Now I found when I was working up on this one, going up the round shape, I did have to hot glue these to keep these in place. So that took me a little bit longer. And I'm just hot gluing it, pinching it together, trying to make sure that you can't see any of the black through. And we're going to fill this up with that Dollar Tree onion grass and decorate it to make it look like a little bee skep or a beehive. And I love the shape for it. I think this was a really interesting shape to try. So I'm running out of rope. I'm going to make sure that I kind of cut it where it will end on that same side, so all of my seams will be hidden back here on the back of my vase. So definitely takes a lot of rope when you wrap a project like this. This is my 3rd package of that thinner rope from the Dollar Tree. And again, I'm just going to cut the tape off of it and start again. And I hot glue that in place, and I'm kind of going up again, so I'm not needing to glue it in place like I did before until I start getting here around the rim. I have to start gluing it in place because I don't want it to slip off the end. I want it to stay tight. And I'm just kind of going around until I cover up all of the plastic. This vase comes in black or white. You're not going to be able to see the inside of it, so it doesn't really matter which one you get. And I'm just going to kind of overlap it a little bit there, just to cover up the very top and cut off the rest of the rope, gluing that end down so it kind of blends in with the top of the vase. Now, Dollar Tree rope is notoriously like a fuzzy. It's kind of got some crazy pieces sticking out of it. So next up, I just take one of the long lighters and we're just going to go over it and burn off all the fuzzies and try to clean it up a little bit. But it looks pretty cool as just a vase, right? Now, when I dress it up and kind of make it look like a bee skep, it makes it look even cooler. So burning off all the fuzzies. If I have any kind of weird like sticks sticking out, I try to trim those off as well. And I think that looks a lot better. Now to fill it up, it's going to be super easy. I'm going to use some of that Dollar Tree onion grass and just kind of stick that in there. But first, I wanted to decorate it to make it look like a bee skep. So I just took my black paint pen and I'm just sketching out a simple circle here on the front. Once I got it sketched out, then I can kind of go in with some black paint. I'm using some chalk paint, but you could use acrylic, just kind of whatever you have. And I'm just going to fill in my circle to make a nice, bold, black spot on the front of it for a little hole for the bees. And this is what Dollar Tree rope looks like painted. I mean, you can do it, but as you can see, you have to use a brush to try to get down in between the individual ropes and all the fibers and everything like that. And I'm just going to kind of touch it up, try to make it look like a circle the best that I can. And then for bees, I was brainstorming a way to make little bees. And I remembered I have some of these yellow pom-poms garland from the Dollar Tree, so I'm going to try it with those. I just cut off one of the little mini pom-poms and rolled it into between my hands to kind of make it like a oval shape. And then I'm going to take some of the black wire from the hardware aisle at Dollar Tree, and I thought I could wrap that around the yellow pom-pom to make like little black stripes, and I could also use it for an antenna, right? So I start here at one end of my pom-pom. This helps it keep that longer shape too instead of the circle. And I wrap that around a couple times to give like 3 stripes for the bee. And then I'm going to leave a little tail on there for one of the antennae. And then I'll have to cut off another little piece to make a second antennae for the front of the bee. And I am going to make wings in just a second, but this is like basically the body of the bee. And so I'm going to go ahead and attach it now. I can always add the wings later. Just trying to make sure everything looks good. I think that looks pretty good for a DIY bee. And I'm going to glue it right here kind of near the opening. And I really like how that turned out, so I'm going to try making another one. So if you were not able to find the little bees from the Dollar Tree this year as well, this is an option if you have some of this pom-pom garland. I love this pom-pom garland. I think I have it in like in every color from the Dollar Tree because there's always so many things you can do with it. So for the second one, I did the same thing. I tried to make it kind of longer, wrapped it with that wire 3 times for 3 stripes, left one piece for the antennae, and then I cut another piece down for the other antennae and kind of wrapped that around the wire, making it kind of stick out of the head, just like the other one. We can glue that here on the other side. Like this one might not be going in the beehive, but the other one's probably going to. Now, I was trying to think of something fun I could use to make little tiny bee wings. And I remembered I had this ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It's kind of like I don't know how to explain it. Kind of like a snake skin. I thought like the fun texture on it would make it look like a texture or veining of a bee wing. So I'm just going to cut off a little piece. And basically a bee wing is just shaped like a heart. So I'm just going to use an ink pen and cut out some heart shapes here, all about the same size on the fabric with the veining, kind of avoiding the pattern that was on there. And then just cutting those little wings out. I kind of did 2 smaller ones, 2 like larger ones without really meaning to, but I'll just pair those up with the small ones on one bee and the little bit larger ones on the other bee. So kind of a teeny miniature, like little project there, but I was really happy with how it turned out. It was really cute and a lot cuter than just skipping the bee, right? So I just do a little dot of hot glue on the back of my bee, and then I'm just going to sit the tip of the wing in it right here on the back. They're cute without the wings, but I think the wings really make them special, make them really look like little bees. I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. A dot of hot glue for each wing, just kind of making sure they are like right across from each other and sticking straight up. Doesn't that look so cute? I mean, you could always add more bees if you wanted to go crazy, but I think 2 bees is enough for this. But I absolutely love how this Dollar Tree vase turned out. It's such a fun, interesting shape for like a bee skep. And it's practical because I can now put greenery in there and have like a floral piece. This is the onion grass I'm using. I'm just using the plain onion grass. If you can only find like the ones with like butterflies or eggs in them, you could totally use that as well, just kind of removing the extra stuff. But I had 3 of these. Now, they didn't sit in there too well because I don't really have like any foam or anything like that in the vase. So I decided to add just some Dollar Tree sand to the bottom just to help me be able to stand those up a little bit better and make sure they're not like kind of flopping all over the place. Because it is a pretty big vase, as you can see. So there it is, 3 of the onion grass and our little bee skep vase. I think it turned out really cute. So let me give you a little preview. This is how my bee skep vase turned out. I think the onion grass is perfect for that and a really easy item to find from the Dollar Tree that's very inexpensive. And I always love using rope for my bee projects. Really fun. And I think the shape of this vase is perfect for this bee craft. I wanted to make a honey pot lantern. For the jar, I'm just using one of these square glass containers. I thought this would work well. I know square is not necessarily something you would think of for a jar, but I think it's going to make it a little bit easier to decorate it and stuff like that because it won't be completely round. And I'm just going to give it a quick cleaning to make sure the inside and the outside are both clean. I want to dye it so that you'll be able to see light through it, but I want it to look like it has honey inside the jar. To do that, I'm just using some Mod Podge here in a cup, and I'm going to just start adding some food coloring. I have some food coloring that I picked up at the Dollar Tree that I just use for crafting. It's very expired, but hey, it still works. And I'm just going to start adding yellow to the Mod Podge. I wasn't really getting where I wanted to with the yellow. It wasn't quite that golden honey color. So I do go in and add a little bit of red as well to kind of get more of a golden feel. But I don't want to add very much of that because a little goes a long way. So a couple drops of red. And as you see, you'll get like an orange color. I don't really necessarily want it to be orange. I do want it to be golden. So I'm going to add more yellow. I do want it to be thick, so I'm not going to water this down at all because I want it to look like gloppy honey on the inside of the jar. I'm not going to be dripping any honey or anything on the outside of the jar, so I kind of want to get that look of the honey by the inside. So I want it to be nice and thick. So I pour what I have here in the bottom of this jar. The jar is pretty large. I'm just going to start working it around by spinning it around so it will kind of go up the sides. I want to fill up the entire jar with our faux honey. And again, I made it really thick on purpose to get that gloppy texture. So it was a little bit of a challenge to get it to go all the way down to the rim. but I was able to do that. Just put down a paper towel because it definitely gets messy for this part. I was trying to make sure that I had everything covered. And I want to let it dry, but I also want it to kind of come back down inside the jar to make it look like a honey jar that has been used, was what I was going for, since I'm not going to do any like drips of honey on the outside. If you wanted to do drips of honey on the outside, you could use some like yellow tinted hot glue for that, but I didn't have any in my stash. So we're going to make it work with just Mod Podge and a little bit of food coloring. I'm going to start its drying process like that. And then for the top of the lid, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree push lights. That way I can like unscrew the lid, push the light to turn it on, and I won't actually have anything in the jar, but it's going to light up the jar. For the lid, I just take it and I take some of the Dollar Tree Bee Honeycomb fabric, and I'm going to cut a circle of fabric like you would see on the top of a jar if you've been canning, and I'm just going to cut out a circle. I thought I'd probably have a better chance of getting a good circle to fold the fabric in fourths to cut that out. And they have like three, I think, different varieties of the honeycomb fabric. I always pick it up every year at Dollar Tree whenever I see it because it can be really fun for little projects like this. I want it to go around the round lid like this, and I can attach that with glue and a little twine to make it look cute, but nothing that's going to interfere with me taking the lid on and off to be able to turn the light on and off. I want to use this for my kitchen. I always like to have like a little light up decorative item on my kitchen that's seasonal. I think it's really cute. And if you want to go into the kitchen and the light's not on, it looks really good on the counter. For the twine, I probably should have left this step to last because depending on how you screw the lid on is where you're going to have it tied off. I end up moving it a little bit, but for now, I just put it on with a couple dots of hot glue, and I tie that around the outside edges of it to give that like ruffled look to it. And just tie it off with a simple knot, leaving a couple little strings on there. Nothing crazy. We are going to decorate the front of the honey jar lantern too, and I love how this project turned out. It was so much fun. This does have double-sided tape on the back of it, so I'm just going to peel and stick. As you can see, it fits just inside the lid with enough room to be able to screw it on, so that is helpful. Now this has lots of paint seeping out of it still, and it's super wet. I'm going to start the drying process, but I'm going to let it dry on its own. If I were to leave it upside down, I would get a very even coating of the tinted Mod Podge all over the sides. But again, I want it to look gloppy and I want it to like go down the sides of it a little bit. So I'm not going to wait for it to dry. I'm going to go ahead and start decorating this. I just use a black paint pen and I'm just going to simply spell out the word honey there on the front. Nothing crazy. And then I thought we could decorate it with some flowers and bees on the front. Those little wooden beads I picked up on Amazon the other day because I wasn't able to find any at Dollar Tree this year. And I have them linked in my Amazon shop as well. For the flowers, I wanted small white and yellow flowers, but I didn't have anything small enough. So I'm going to use these little white paper flower stickers from the Dollar Tree. And just using a paint pen, making that little pearl in the middle yellow, I thought it would give me that same effect. It's just kind of difficult not to get it on the flower itself. I was able to on these two. And they have double-sided tape on the back, so I'm just going to use that to stick that on there. The little bees have double-sided tape as well. At first, I added them like this. I did notice that a lot of them aren't going to stay with the double-sided tape on that glass jar, so I did go back and add some hot glue to them, at least the ones that were like directly on the glass like that, but I think 5 would look good here on the front of our honey jar. And as you can see, it's thick and gloppy in there, which is exactly what I wanted. I think it's going to give it a cool effect when I light it up. So I just popped the lid on. After turning it on, turn it on there, and this is how it turned out. Isn't that so cute? Let me give you a closer look. This is what it looks like during the day. Really cute and decorative, even without the light up feature. The only issue I had with this DIY is keeping the paint. The paint did want to kind of slip a little bit on the inside of the jar. So it might be a good idea to put it like in a cooler temp oven, maybe about 200 degrees, to really, solidify the paint, make sure it stays on the glass a little bit better because I did have to touch it up. So that is something to keep in mind. And this is what it looks like lit up with like kind of the gloppy honey on the inside. Really fun. I love crafting with these square jars from the Dollar Tree. They're really nice size, and you can do a fun little kitchen lamp like this, which is where I'm going to use mine on my kitchen counter. Now for the next one, I found this like hexagon frame from the Dollar Tree, and I was wondering if I could do like a cutout of a honeycomb pattern, so I could make like a see-through honeycomb. I thought that would be really fun to try to do. So I thought this frame would be perfect. It's a black frame, and I'm going to use some of this cardstock from the Dollar Tree. They had a yellow in there. I thought that'd be perfect for a honeycomb. And I'm going to use my Cricut to cut this out because this is going to be intricate. So I designed an SVG file of honeycomb, and I will share that as a free SVG in the description of today's video. So you'll be able to cut one out too if you have a Cricut. I cut it out. I did 9 by 9. I thought that would be plenty big for this size frame. And the Cricut did an awesome job for this. Let me show you. I made sure not to make it too thin because I didn't want the cardstock breaking. And I'm just going to peel it off, leaving behind all those little cells there. You could always use those for some more bee crafting. And I think this is going to work really well. I want it to just be the frame and then have all these honeycombs cut out. So the first thing I do is just remove the back, the glass, everything that was in this frame. And we can find a way to attach the honeycomb cells here to the back. And including the little pieces there that keep the back of the frame on, those are going to get in the way. So I just use a screwdriver and go ahead and remove all of those. Now I'm left with this great little black frame, perfect size for this honeycomb that we cut out. But I do need to find a way to cut it down and to attach it to the frame itself. So I just laid my frame on top, and I'm just going to go around with a pencil. And anywhere where I come upon a honeycomb piece, I am just sketching that out with my pencil, so I'll know how to cut this down to size. I want it to go inside the frame, so it needs to be a little bit shorter than what I cut out. So I just cut inside those lines, but I definitely don't want to cut it too much because I want to make sure it fits. And I just go around and carefully cut that part out. Now, I wasn't sure if there was going to be enough items to glue to the frame itself since there's so many openings on this. So I'll show you what I ended up doing to attach this. First of all, let's try it on to see if it's going to fit. And I probably cut it a little too big, so I am going to trim it down a little bit to make it fit better. So I just kind of cut one little piece at a time. Anywhere where I see it's not fitting inside the frame, I want to make sure that the paper is not visible from the front. And then I have some spare paper left over from the cardstock. What I'm going to do is cut little strips. So those strips will go on the inside of the frame where it will kind of frame it out, yet it won't be visible. So I'm just using my paper cutter, and I'm going to cut down some really thin little strips of paper. This way I'll get a straighter cut. And then I'm just going to go around and piece that together all the way around it, so I'll have something a little bit more substantial to glue down, because I want to make sure it's strong enough, because we're going to be adding some bees to this as well. So I kind of cut them down to size, one little section at a time. And then since it's paper to paper, I'm just going to use a glue stick to attach these. I thought that'd probably be the best way to glue them on top of each part of the paper. And then I will go in with some hot glue to secure the whole panel in a little bit better. That was kind of just to glue it to itself in the honeycomb. But I want to make sure that this doesn't fall out and it's nice and strong. So now that I have that all done, I can go in with some hot glue around the edges and glue each end down. I was so glad that I used my Cricut to cut out this honeycomb design. It made it so much easier. I guess you could try cutting it out by hand, but you're not going to get that crisp cut like that you're going to get from your Cricut. So that looks pretty good. I do want to make it a standing sign, and the frame itself is not quite thick enough to make it stand up. So I'm going to use some Dollar Tree craft wood for that. I'm just going to cut out a piece of it that's a little bit wider to make a base, and we can always paint this black to make it blend in with the black honeycomb frame. So I just cut it down and made sure to sand it so it looks good, and I'm going to go ahead and paint it black before I attach it. I try to always have some Dollar Tree craft wood like this in my stash to craft with, and I've also cut down other wood items to use for this kind of same purpose. It's always good to have handy, and it makes a perfect base. It's going to be nice and heavy. For the bees, I found some really cute little string bees from Michaels. Aren't these so cute? And I am going to use these as bees on there. I actually got these on sale at Michaels. I usually don't shop there. Their craft supplies are too expensive for me. But when these guys were on sale, I couldn't pass them up. I'm going to take them off of the greenery like this. They have a little bit of hot glue holding them on. And then I'm going to attach them to it. Aren't they so cute? Look at them. They're like covered in like yellow and black string. They have cute little antennas, legs, and wings. And I thought they'd be perfect to display on this little honeycomb. They're not going to be super heavy for that paper honeycomb backing. And I thought 2 of them would look really cute on here. I'm just going to put a little hot glue on their feet to make them stick to the paper. And I love these. They're so cute. I've used them for a bee coffee bar before. So I'm already getting a second use out of these cute little guys. I think that looks pretty good. And now I can go ahead and attach this little honeycomb to the craft wood. I just do a bead of hot glue and center that right on there and let that set up. And here it is, our little honeycomb cutout frame with little bees on it. I love the fact that you could see through it like that. I think that's a really fun little feature and a fun way to cut out little honeycomb cells. If you want to DIY your bees, I don't think they would be very hard to do. You would have to find something kind of round and wrap them with a twine, and you could paint the yellow and black stripes on there, the wings, the antenna, the legs. It would be a little bit of work, but I think you could do it, or you could try to find some at Michael's like I did, but I think they look so cute on this little honeycomb. For this bee DIY, I'm going to use one of these little adhesive cork pads from the Dollar Tree that's got a great honeycomb shape and a Dollar Tree wood bee. And we're going to do a really fun little bee in a honeycomb and make a little standing sign. Now this is adhesive, so it's got like you can pull off the back and adhere something to it. So I thought I would take advantage of that, and I'm going to add some honeycomb fabric on here. Now this is a scrap piece of honeycomb fabric that I've had from previous years. I've noticed every year they come out with a slightly different one. You could also use the honeycomb burlap if that's all you can find, but I thought that would be fun to get the little honey cells inside. I just cut out my scrap fabric. It was just large enough, and I'm just going to give it a quick iron so it'll be nice and flat when I attach it. Now, I didn't think that the adhesive on the back of this little cork board was going to be strong enough to keep the fabric on there, so I decided to make it stickier by adding Mod Podge all over. And that seemed to work really well. And I just put a nice even coat and lay this on here. I have to line this up perfectly to make my scrap piece fit, but I was able to do it. Once I get it on there, I just use a dry paper towel to smooth that out, trying to make sure I don't get any bubbles, and give that a dry so I can cut off the excess material. I usually do like to add the material first like this so I can cut things down to size, get a perfect cut. And I will be framing this out too, so it won't look rough or anything with the rough edges of the fabric. And I want to add that little bee to the front of it and make a cute little standing sign. And there's lots of different options for hexagon signs like this from the Dollar Tree. I have dry erase, I have like chalkboard, I have this adhesive cork, I have signs. I have found so many different ones. But I love the shape of it. To border it out, I'm going to use some of the thinner rope from Dollar Tree. And just like with signs, I'm just going to put some hot glue here on the edges. I use the thinner one because this is not super thick, and I thought this would do a good job of sealing that up, and it's going to look better than those white edges. And I guess this is for, like, they have different ones, dry erase, cork boards, and stuff like that. You can put these on the wall. But I saw mine, and I thought that should be a bee DIY. I go all the way around here, just making sure that I kind of meet here at a corner where I can blend that rope in where I start and stop. And I think that looks really cute. I'm going to attach it to one of these metal signs from the Dollar Tree. It's just a quick way to make a standing sign. I'm going to add hot glue back here. You could always use a stronger glue if you wanted for this part. But I think that should hold the cork on pretty well. It's really a lightweight little item. And test it out, make sure it's going to stand up. And since it's so light, it stands up really well. Now for the bee, I got this little wood bee from the Dollar Tree. I think he's so cute. I'm just going to have to paint him. Now, most of him is like the back part or the body. So I thought that part should be black. So I just go in with a paintbrush and paint the entire thing black, just because the bump out parts, it's going to be almost impossible not to get paint on those, and I can always add a few layers of the different colors I want on there to counteract that black. But I just did one coat. I'm okay if it's a little rough looking. It'll just save me from having to distress it when I'm done with it. And then for the bee stripes, I used a yellow paint pen. Again, going yellow over black, a little bit difficult, but I just used 2 or 3 coats of the paint pen to get that bright pop of yellow. But when the little pieces are already attached like this from the Dollar Tree, I find that that is the easier way. And I was trying to think about what color I should do the wings, because they definitely need to be a color, but nothing too bright or anything like that. And I ended up just doing white. So again, just like with the yellow, white over black, I am going to have to do a couple of coats. But when I'm working with smaller projects like this, I find paint pens are really easy. Posca paint pens are definitely my favorite. I have these linked in my Amazon shop. You can usually get them on sale pretty cheap on Amazon, but I've also bought them at Target before and individual colors at, I think, Michael's. And I thought my yellow probably needed one more coat to pop against that black. And this is a really fun little bee to create. I've picked up quite a few of these because I think it's a really nice size for bee crafting. And of course, another coat on the wings as well. But he is about ready to go. I'm going to attach him to the front of that little beehive honeycomb once I get him finished painting. Now, I added some hot glue to the back, and at first I was going to kind of put him in the corner like that, but I think I would like him better in the center, so I had a little bit of time to move him to the center without any harm. And I think he looks really cute so far. I did want to add another little fun like spring or summer touch by adding some grass to the stand. This is some of that faux grass for Easter at Dollar Tree Plus right now. I love this stuff for Easter crafting, but I thought it would be really good with this too. It's just a little mat like this, so I'm going to cut it here from behind. I cut it a little bit larger because you're going to need to cut it down a little bit. See how it has like that black mat that's visible? So you can go in and kind of cut that out and get it closer to the grass itself. And so I just cut a little rectangle there for the rectangular base. I thought that'd be a fun little touch. And then I cut a little slit about halfway so I can go around that little metal pole there in the middle. And I'm just going to attach it with a little bit of hot glue right here to keep it attached. And I think that added a little fun element to this spring DIY and made it like a little bit less plain. I love those little metal stands like that from the Dollar Tree though. I always have some of those in my stash for crafting because you don't have to make a stand or anything like that. This is how it looks. I think it's so cute. I guess you could also add a few bees like crawling around in the grass down there too, the little wooden ones. That would be really precious. I love these little bee cutouts like this from the Dollar Tree, the wood items. Be sure to check your Crafter Square for them. And there's so many different hexagon size signs that you can find at your store too to make a perfect background. And this makes a really fun little shelf sitter to go with my bee decor for spring and summer. For the next DIY, I found this, the Bee's Knees Honey Company flower pot at Dollar Tree, and I love it. It's a galvanized metal. It's distressed perfectly, and it's got like a white distress over the front of it. I'm going to use that and one of their bee yard stakes to do a really cute little bee-themed floral display. Now, this is a yard stake, so it's a little bit long for a pick for a flower pot, but we're just going to make it that way. So I figure out about how long I want it to be, and just using some pliers, I bent it. And this actually broke off really easily. I bent it all the way like this, and then pulling it back, it just broke right off. I like this bee. It's a little colorful, especially compared to that pot. So we are going to be painting this, kind of toning it down, making it go a little bit better with the pot. The first thing I did is I wanted to paint the wings. So I'm just using a silver acrylic and one of those little stencil sponge brushes, and just kind of going all over. It was kind of a rainbow finish on there before, but I want it to coordinate a little bit more with what the flower pot looks like. And we will be painting this a little bit more too, to coordinate with the flowers that we add to the flower pot as well. I'm going to show you how to do this with faux flowers from the Dollar Tree, but you could also do this with a real plant as well. That would be beautiful. I found 2 of those flower pots from the Dollar Tree, this one and one that was more white with the galvanized metal bees all over it. I got both of them because they're so cute. Since this is going to be outside, I'm going to weigh it down with just some extra stones I have from the Dollar Tree to make the bottom of it heavy. And then I'm just going to use some Dollar Tree floral foam to fill it up. I didn't really have anything that was specific to the size to this flower pot. So we're just going to put it together. I ended up using 3 pieces. I do have to cut the corners off of these though to get into that round pot to make it fit. But it's going to give me lots of area to be able to put the faux floral and greenery into and fill up the pot. For the top, I just used some of their green floral moss here for the top, just in case you can see in there. I don't want you to be able to see any of the foam. And I'm probably going to display this on the little table next to my front door. I think it's going to be really pretty for spring or even summer. For the flowers, I'm using these daisies that I got at the Dollar Tree. They're in with the spring flowers right now. And just using my wire cutter, I'm just going to cut them into individual pieces. I thought I was going to need a lot because the flower pot was pretty full, but the flowers themselves are really large, so I only had to use 1 package. As you can see, they are all kind of bent up, so I'm just using my heat gun to give them a quick iron. It makes the Dollar Tree flowers look so much better. It's like giving them a little ironing, and I find that that helps. On these daisies, there is a little variation to how they're made. Some of them have some shorter petals there in the middle, but I just kind of work one at a time. I found it a little bit easier to give them their little iron before I put them in the pot and kind of scattered them all over. And then we can have some more greenery added to it, and we can add that little bee yard stake into the middle. See how full one batch of that really filled it up? Now, this is some of the greenery from the Dollar Tree right now. It's not labeled as eucalyptus, but I think it's like the eucalyptus. And I'm going to cut these into individual pieces too, and just kind of spread these around. I like this because it added a little bit of green, a little bit of a bush variety to this when there's leaves on the flowers, but you really can't see them at all. So I think this provides just a little bit more fun and color to this little DIY. And I love these flower pots. I was really inspired by this one. I think it's so cute. And the little DIY we do to the bee on here really makes it all go together. The first thing I'm going to do is, it has golden stripes and I want mine to be bright yellow just because I used bright yellow flowers. So to make it brighter, I go over it with white acrylic first. Then I'm going to go over it with some bright yellow. That way it's going to make it pop and not be toned down, because this color of yellow can really take in any like dark colors that you might see underneath of it. And so I try to just work with some thinner coats. It's pretty easy to clean these up if you kind of go outside your line, but I'm just going to paint those on. I'm going to leave like the black part of the bee intact. I think that looks fine, but I really wanted the yellow to pop to really coordinate well with the flowers. So just a couple thin coats over that. And I also want to paint the wings a little bit more too, so they look distressed a little bit like the flower pot. To do that, I'm just going to use some white acrylic and a little makeup sponge. I'm just going to sponge, kind of dragging it over the texture there on the wing to make it stand out a little bit, but also to age it, make it look like that galvanized metal aging, very similar to the pot. Maybe a little bit more distressing. And I think it looks really cute like this. So I'm just going to put this into the foam as well, right here in the middle, kind of like it's flying off to the side just a little bit. This was such an easy DIY. It just screams spring and summer to me. And you could also use a real plant with some bright yellow or white and yellow flowers. Would be really cute if you have a green thumb. I love using faux florals because I don't. And you can really get a fun pop of color like this that you can use on your porch and make it really look like you know what you're doing. But look out for the flower pots at Dollar Tree. They're really cute. I love this one. For this bee DIY, we're going to use one of the bee garden flags from the Dollar Tree and 2 of their wooden shelves. I want to take this really cute little design that says, "Hey there, honeybee," and make really cute like wall decor for inside my house. So I've used these little wall shelves before, maybe the skinnier ones that are a little bit thicker, to make an outdoor wall hanging where I included the entire like garden flag on a DIY. but I thought I wanted this one to be smaller, so I'm just going to use 2 of those wood shelves together to make a rectangular sign, and we can dress it up a little bit too. So I love crafting with these little wall shelves because they're nice and thick. They're like real wood, and you can put them together. So I just did a bead of hot glue there on one and just pushed them together, trying to make sure that I didn't have any like excess hot glue sticking out. And I think this is my best side to DIY. They are a little rough with the carvings where the holes are here for the shelves. So I'm just gonna give them a quick sand so that you won't have any bumpiness there when I attach the flag. I want like this part where it says, "Hey there, honeybee." I don't really care about the top and the bottom, and I'm okay with the buffalo check being on the side, so because kind of needed to be there to make it wide enough. Now to attach it, I'm just using matte Mod Podge. I'm doing like a rather thicker coat here because it's kind of an outdoor material. It's kind of shiny, and I want to make sure that it stays on, so I used a nice thick coat and then kind of position it on there. The Mod Podge is really wet, so you have plenty of time to kind of maneuver it, move it around until you get it exactly where you want it. I want all of my words to be on there, nothing cut out, and it to be centered onto the wood boards. I'm just going to dry that off with a dry paper towel to smooth it out, and also go over it with my hands to make sure there's really no bubbling or anything like that that might show up later. I also go in with my heat gun and give it a quick dry, and we can go ahead and start cutting the excess fabric off. I am going to frame this out too so it doesn't have like rough, crazy edges, but I do want a fairly clean cut on this. Now this material, I tried it first with a razor blade here to just cut the excess material. I thought I could probably get closer like that, and it did work, but it was kind of hard to get it like really close to the wood. So I did have to do a little bit of trimming there to get it a little bit closer. And this is not all the way dry yet, so I could still kind of maneuver it a little bit. For the other side though, I just decided to do scissors. I thought that that was going to be easier and work a little bit better. I just kind of turned it over and cut as close to the wood as I possibly could. And this is what we have so far. This is such a fun way to make a personalized sign like this. It's already got a really cute theme with the sunflower and the bees and the saying. I'm just going to go ahead and poke holes here in the top since it already had holes on the hanging shelf. I'm just going to poke those in that garden flag material so I can string up a new hanger. And I wanted to do that first before I frame it out because I don't want that to get in the way. I just string it in here from behind and tie it in the front. I did make sure to have plenty of Mod Podge on the corner so that none of that lifted up. That's kind of the most crucial part there. And then make sure your holes are definitely large enough in there so you can get your twine through there cleanly. And I just tied it off on the other side. So this is what we have so far. I think it's a great starter piece. And I want to frame it out. I have some Dollar Tree rope. I think this is the thicker one of the two. It's a little bit shorter, but I think it's plenty to go around this size sign. I'm just going to start in one corner here. I just removed the tape off the end, and we're just going to use hot glue to glue it here. I love using rope with bee crafts. I always try to include it. I think it looks really good together, and I like using rope for frames for like Dollar Tree signs like this. It just gives it a finished edge without having to do any framing or anything like that. I'm just going to take that same piece of Dollar Tree rope, and we're going to go around all 4 sides with that. And I'll show you how I kind of blend it when I get back down here to the corner. We're also going to add some more items to this to really make this sign special, and I love how this turned out. I love the saying, and I found I got like at least 3 bee garden flags at Dollar Tree this year for crafting, and I think that they have a pretty good selection. So here at the end, I kind of cut it a little bit at an angle, and then I added hot glue. If you let that cool off a little bit, you can mold it and get that curved corner like on all the rust. Then I just go over it with a lighter to burn off any fuzzies, clean it up a little bit. It wasn't too bad. Now I wanted to add to it, it's already got like that great sunflower on it and the sunflowers in the corner, but I thought it'd be really cute to make it look 3D. So I picked up like one of the large sunflowers from Dollar Tree. This one's pretty massive. And I just take it off the stem and I'm gonna cut off the plastic stem. This one doesn't make the flower fall apart when you do that. So I can attach it like that. I'm not gonna add any greenery. I'm just gonna use the greenery that was on the sign already, but I just used hot glue to attach that. It was the perfect size. And I also wanted to attach some bees. I wasn't able to find the wood bees from Dollar Tree this year, so I ordered a bag of these on Amazon, and they're pretty similar. They're just little wooden beads. They're pretty inexpensive. I'll be sure to add those to my Amazon shop if you're in the market for those. I got them within a day, and they're really great for crafting. So I just add one with hot glue, kind of spinning this around a little bit so it's a little bit more symmetrical, the center of the sunflower. And I'm just gonna glue a couple little bees on here. I thought that would really make the theme and really make the sign special. I think I'm gonna hang this in my kitchen area for spring, and I guess I could even use it for summer as well. They have quite a few varieties of bee flags from the Dollar Tree, these little garden flags. I got one this year that I was going to DIY, and I didn't get a chance to DIY it, but I definitely have it in my bee crafting stash, which I seem to do bees every year because I love them so much. This is a really easy DIY. I picked up an 8x10 frame from the Dollar Tree. It has a little bit of a wicker texture on it. I thought that would be fun for a bee theme. I don't really like the fact that it's all one color though, so I'm gonna paint it a little bit to update it. And I'm just gonna take the glass and everything out of the back. I'm gonna show you how to do a really fun, bright spring canvas of a little honey truck. So the first thing I do is I'm just taking some ivory paint and a little sponge dauber, and I'm gonna go all over, giving me kind of a base coat on the top and the bottom. And then I'm gonna be using Antique Wax by Waverly to restain this. This is gonna give me lots of different colors, like a faux wood grain, and I really want you to be able to see the great texture that is on this frame. I want it to almost look like the same color as the rope that I use for crafting with bee DIYs. So once it's dry, I take some Antique Wax by Waverly, and for the first coat, I go over it like this, and then use a baby wipe to wipe off the excess. It's gonna give me a little bit of a base coat. It's a little bit lighter. I do go back in with more Antique Wax by Waverly to make it a little bit darker, but this is my first coat of this. The baby wipe takes off a lot of it, as you can see, and then I use that to distress the sides of it as well on the edges. And then I go over it with a little bit more there on one side to make sure they're all even. Now, once I get that dry, I'm gonna go in for my second coat. This one I wanna do a lot darker. I wanna make sure I get in all those grooves. And so instead of using a baby wipe, I use a paper towel to wipe off the excess. That leaves some of the darker color down in those grooves. As you can see, it's really bringing out that great pattern on this frame and making it look more high end. And I really love this. I designed a printable for the 8x10, and I will include a link to the free bee printable down in the description of today's video so you can make your own. And it is sized 8x10, so if you print it out at 100%, it should be the perfect size for this one. Now that the frame is all stained, I want to make sure I don't touch it right away. The Antique Wax by Waverly does take a few minutes to dry on that for sure. Now to make my canvas, I'm actually using the glass on the frame to make it. This is the design I made. It's a little honey farm truck full of honey in the back and bees everywhere. I think it's so cute and bright for spring. Just making sure I sized it perfectly and it looks good. So I printed mine out on cardstock. It just makes it so much easier to work with when you're making a little faux canvas like this. I just cut off the white edges of my cardstock and we can go ahead and start putting this together. I like using the glass as a background because I already have it, right? It's perfectly flat and I can just use Mod Podge to attach it. So I want the cardstock to go on top of the glass because I want that canvas feel of it. I don't want it to be behind glass, but if you like yours like that, you could totally just put it in the frame itself. I just put Mod Podge all over, laying it on top, using a dry paper towel to smooth it out to make sure I don't have any bubbling or air in there. And the great thing about cardstocks is you don't really have to wait for it to dry before you start Mod Podging on top. You're not going to get wrinkling. So I go over it with a coat Just using a foam brush, I do want a little bit of a brush stroke on there to give you that canvas feel. And I go all over the front of it and give it a quick dry. I do want that great texture and I want it to be sealed really well. So I do go in with a second coat of Mod Podge doing the same thing. I've done this on many projects and I really love how this turns out. And it's so easy because you're only using one item from the Dollar Tree, just the frame. Now that I have that on there and dry, I want to see how the frame looks. It looks really good. So let's just go ahead and pop this back in the frame. These Dollar Tree frames have hangers on the back, also stands. So I'm going to use a stand to actually display this on a cabinet for spring. I think that looks pretty good. Just making sure everything's perfect before I put everything together. I'm just going to pop the back on, making sure I have it going the right way, and close all the staples there on the back. And this turned out so cute, really inexpensive to put together. I think that frame goes really well with the bee theme. And you can DIY your own little canvas art like this just using the glass with this free printable that, again, I will include in the description of today's video. But a fun little honey farm truck with little bees flying all over. I think this would really add a lot of fun to your bee decor this summer. For the next bee DIY, I got one of these little bees on the ladders. They have these every year in the spring and garden section to hang on pots. And I thought we could DIY them. I thought that'd be really cute. So I have some honeycomb fabric from the Dollar Tree. And I found a hexagon sign and like the wood slat board. I thought we could dress this up and make it really cute. Now, it is black already. I'm going to cover it up, though, with the honeycomb. I thought that'd be a fun background. I just need to cut it down to size. So what I did is I laid my fabric on there. It does have a slight frame. And I'm going to flip it over so I can kind of draw on it. And I just used like a yellow Sharpie, so it would kind of blend in. But I could see where I need to cut it. And I just kind of trace that out on the inside of that hexagon frame, so I'd be able to cut that down to size. I'm just going to cut those out with scissors. Doesn't have to be perfect. I can always align that to make it look a little bit better around the edges. But I actually did a pretty good job and did not have to do that. I just could cover it with the fabric. This kind of serves the same purpose that you could use like scrapbook paper or something like that to cover the back of your craft. But they don't have a lot of varieties of scrapbook paper at Dollar Tree, so I usually use fabric instead. I'm going to have a hanging sign. I want to make sure this is really attached, so I use quite a bit of Mod Podge here on the sign, maybe a little too much. And then I'm going to put the fabric down. A nice honeycomb pattern. Again, they have I think I have 3 or 4 different honeycomb fabrics from Dollar Tree. Plus, I also have a honeycomb burlap. You can use any of those to get that fun honey pattern for the inside of your honeycomb. Now, the frame is like a light wood, and I want mine to be a little darker. So I just went in with a foam brush and some Antique Wax by Waverly and did a quick stain on the frame, wiping off the excess there with a paper towel, and it gave me a nice medium finish. Just want to make sure that it is fairly uniform, and it has wood beads on the hanger. So I went ahead and distressed those with the Antique Wax by Waverly too, wiping off the excess with a baby wipe to give them a weathered look as well. I had trouble kind of getting in between the beads though, so I switched to a brush to get a little bit more even coverage on staining those. But you know what? I didn't have to take them off or anything. I just did them when they were still attached. Now it's time for the little bee on the ladder. We're going to leave him attached to a ladder like this. And he has like the black part that goes over the top of the pot. But we're going to take advantage of that and actually just hook that on top of the honeycomb sign, just like this. It's perfect for that. It can make it look like he's working. He's coming down a ladder into his honeycomb. I'm just going to bend the little holders here, the metal holders here with my pliers to make it stay on, make it a little bit tighter, his grip on the sign. And I can also glue down part of the ladder here to the honeycomb fabric. So cute. I kind of have it at an angle like this so I can also add some more decor. These are some yellow flowers, spring flowers that I got from the Dollar Tree. And again, I love yellow flowers, white flowers with yellow centers and stuff like that. When I'm doing bee crafting, you can kind of use whatever you have. I cut down a couple little pieces here And I'm going to use my staple gun to attach that to the thicker part there of the wood frame, where it kind of comes out the side like that for a fun little feature. Then I decided I want to cover it by staple. So again, I'm going to be using Dollar Tree rope. I love that. I know I went in and stained the frame of it, but I decided I wanted to kind of go around the edges with the rope. It could hide the little black part of the ladder. It could also hide the staples here attaching the flowers. So I'm just going to use some of the thinner brown rope from the Dollar Tree and glue that all the way around that hexagon shape for another fun feature. I just go over the little metal part right there. It just helped disguise it a little bit too. And I love the rope, of course. Once I get it on there, I'm just going to go in and burn off any fuzzies on there on the rope. And I also wanted to add the word bee on there. I thought that would be really cute. I'm going to use some of the little Scrabble letters from Dollar Tree and just spell out the word bee. I guess you could also always spell out like honey as well. Anything fun like that. I'm just going to put it down here towards the bottom, underneath the ladder where I kind of had room, and just spell out the word bee. What a cute little wall hanging. It's small enough to kind of go about anywhere, or you could combine it with other bee DIYs. That's what I did to make like an entire display of bee DIYs for spring. And they seem to have these little bees on the ladder every year. A really fun way to add it to like some spring decor like this and have it be something that's totally not even related to plants. And you can still use it for decor, and it's a good source for a bee from the Dollar Tree. I actually found this in like the regular wreath section at my Dollar Tree. And I thought it'd be fun to do burlap for it, but I thought some of the flowered burlap from Dollar Tree would be really cute with the white and yellow flowers on there. Covering the back of it, this wreath DIY was so easy to do. I'm actually making this for wall decor, but you could definitely use this on your front door. Look how bright this is. I thought this would be a really fun take on this as opposed to just doing the plain burlap. Now, they do fold the burlap like this from the Dollar Tree, so you might be better off to iron it from the underside. I didn't. I'm just going to go ahead and hope that I stretch it tight and that seam will go away, and it seems like it did, but it is kind of a pet peeve of mine. Now for the rope, I'm using the wider rope from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use that to sandwich it in. The wire wreath frames like this from the Dollar Tree are very thin, so you can kind of sandwich the wire in between the fabric and the rope, which makes it so easy. So I don't cut the burlap at all. I just start here at the bottom, and I use hot glue to glue the rope down. The excess hot glue like seeps around the wire and attaches the burlap fabric to the back, so kind of a little shortcut, I guess. I'm going to start here at the very bottom, doing that bottom rung, and cut it. Since they're all individually cut like this, I'm actually going to cut my rope individually too, just to make it work a little bit better, I think. And I want to make sure I don't get any hot glue that's visible there on the burlap from the front. And I'm just going to follow this pattern. Other times I've crafted this wreath form, I've cut it to make it flat on the bottom, a little bit more like the bee skep shape. But for this one, I'm doing the full beehive. And I just keep working my way up. As you can see, it's really easy. I am working on a silicone mat. A lot of you guys asked me about that. Hot glue does not stick to it, peels right off. So really easy for this. So any hot glue coming from the underside, it's not going to stick to my project or anything like that. And I do have, this is a monster mat, so it's really big. And I have it linked in my Amazon shop if you were in the market for one. They are fantastic for crafting. I love them. When I get to the top, it's just a circle up here, so I just do the same thing, except I just have the rope go around in a circle. Again, making sure I use plenty of hot glue to make sure it's sealed here on the back. And when I peel it over, it's already all glued on. Now I just have to cut off the excess fabric. I did want to make sure that it was really stuck though, so I did go and add a little bit of hot glue here to the back, just using my finger protector to attach it. But this is probably just me being a little bit extra. It was attached already. And now it's time to cut it. I want to get in there and cut as close to the wire as I can. I don't want to cut any of the rope, but I want to make sure that you can't see any of the burlap fabric from the outside. And those flowers look so fun on there. Other options you could use, they have the bee burlap from the Dollar Tree with the black and yellow bees on it or just the black bees. I've also seen the yellow and black polka dot. Really fun bee colors that you can find in this if you're lucky. I think it would be cute with just the burlap as well, but I do think the flowers really add a lot to it. And I love working with burlap. It's one of my favorite things to craft with. Now that I have that all cut, I'm just going to go ahead and burn off the fuzzies there on my rope. It's not too wild looking so far, but a little bit of cleaning up is in order. Isn't that so cute so far? I do want to decorate it. I don't want to decorate it a lot. It's not a super big wreath, but I do want to add a bee and some things to it. For the bee, I'm going to DIY a bee with one of these little yard spinners from the Dollar Tree. I thought this would make a really fun bee body because it's kind of got the right shape, right? So I just take one of the petals and just pull it off. They are in there with wire. You do have to kind of pull hard, and you want to make sure that you don't pull it all the way out because I want to leave it in there for structure. And I think that's going to be the perfect scale bee for this DIY. For the wings, I'm using the little chalkboard hearts from the Dollar Tree. I can put them like that, and we'll have 2 wings. I'm just going to have to cover up the little hole in there since they are little ornament tags. Hearts make great wings. They're just about the perfect shape. So I just use a little bit of spackle in there and fill those in. And these are just the little chalkboard tags that you can find in the Crafter Square pretty much year round. If you have anything left over from Valentine's Day, some wooden hearts too, those would work really well. And I'm just going over them with a little bit of ivory paint, trying to blend in where I had to fill that in. I struggle using the spackle to fill those holes a little bit. Sometimes I have to go in there with a little bit more to level it out and make it blend in. And these are our little wings. And I also gave it a quick sanding to try to make it blend and added a little bit more paint to it. I do want to take a couple extra steps with that to make that blend in because I really don't want you to be able to see that in the final bee project. The bee body itself is perfect. It's yellow, black stripes. I do need a bee head though. So I'm going to craft one with some Dollar Tree felt. I picked up some of these felt rolls with some great colors for bee crafts. I'm just trying to pick out which yellow I like best to match it. I think this one is the best match. And I want to do a little circle head. Now I want something to kind of help guide me a little bit and make a perfect circle. So I'm going to use some of those little round chalkboard stickers from the Dollar Tree for a little bit of guidance on this. I'm going to use one of the larger ones and I just peel and stick it to the Dollar Tree felt like that. And now I have a perfect circle that I can use to cut this felt. It really helped. It was a nice little guide here to give me a perfect circle without having a wood circle or anything like that. And that can be the little head for our bee, and the hearts can be the wings. I think that looks pretty cute. I do want to add a little bit more character to the wings though, so the ivory paint is dry on those, so I just give them a quick distress with some Antique Wax by Waverly, and it's going to give just a little bit more of a wing-like texture to that, wiping off the excess with a baby wipe. I put some hot glue on both of the little hearts and lay the little bee body on there from that little yard spinner. Super cute. And then I just need to attach the head. I'm not going to do antennas or anything like that, or legs or anything. I'm not going to make this more complicated than it needs to be. Just these 4 pieces. And it definitely gives you the effect of a cute little bumblebee. I think it turned out pretty cute. And I think it's going to be the perfect scale for this beehive. I want to attach it just like maybe over here to the side. And I'm not going to do like a circle hole on this at all. You could if you wanted to. You could use like a black paint pen, but I didn't know how that would look over the white flowers. I guess you could also add some black felt cut into a circle if you wanted a hole in your beehive. But I wanted mine to be a little bit more abstract. I didn't really make a hanger when I was constructing this, so I just take some twine and tie a little knot here, and I want it to hang at an angle. So I'm going to glue mine to the burlap on the back like this, so it'll hang a little bit like that to the side. I think that's going to give it a little bit more character. And Dollar Tree was having like really good supply of these different printed burlaps. I haven't been able to find anything there lately. I do have quite a stash of different printed burlaps like this that I love to use for crafting, but there's lots of different ways that you can use this bee wreath form. I recently did one with a placemat that turned out really pretty too. Okay, the next bee DIY, I found this little vase in the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. It's an unfinished ceramic, but I thought it looked just like a beehive or a bee skep, and I thought this would be a really cute little vase to make. It's kind of on the smaller size, so think a cabinet, a tier tray, something like that. It would be really cute. And it's unfinished ceramic. I want the white color on there, but I also need to seal it since it is an unfinished ceramic. And I'm just doing that with some matte Mod Podge to seal that rough ceramic so that I can go over and distress it more. I want to make it look brown and distressed, kind of like a beehive would look. So I did go over it with a couple of coats of Mod Podge, drying in between. I just wanted to make sure it was really sealed. I know that the ceramic items like this from the Dollar Tree can be a little bit hard to paint. And I'm not necessarily going to paint it. I'm going to more distress it. And I didn't want to paint it white since it's already white. So a couple of coats on there, and the way that I'm going to distress it is some Antique Wax by Waverly. I kind of struggled a little bit on this. I'll end up showing you what worked a little bit better. I started going in like side to side like this, which made it a little bit challenging with all of the ridges on there, but I just went ahead and went over the entire vase with some of that Antique Wax by Waverly, and my plan is to wipe a lot of that off and leave a distressed finish. So I've got pretty good coverage there. Let me go ahead and do the top as well so I don't forget that. And then I went in with a baby white. Now the problem with this, I don't know, maybe I sealed it too well. Most of it came off. I did get like a light distressing, but I want it to be a little bit more distressed, but I've already kind of started that process. So I went ahead and used my wipe all over, and I'll just add some more Antique Wax by Waverly. I tried again to add like another coat here and just to stress it a little bit more all over, wiping it off with a baby wipe again, but I kind of got the same result. So I changed it up and decided to go up and down like this. And that was the trick to distressing this with the shape of the outside of the vase. And see how much better that worked? And I did still kind of, wipe it with my baby wipe and distress it. I just want even coverage all over, and kind of sponging it on instead. And that's the look that I was going for. And maybe I sealed it too well. But this is the look I was going for. I'm just making sure that it is evenly distressed all over. You can always add more. And then a little bit more here on the top. Now, the Antique Wax by Waverly, when you use it like a paint like this, is a little bit harder to dry. I gave mine a little bit of assistance with my heat gun to get it started drying, and it actually dried faster than I thought it would because I do want to go in and paint it a little bit more. I want like an opening in the beehive or bee skep, so I just use a black paint pen, and I'm going to do a circle, so I kind of like sketch out where I kind of think the circle is going to go and try to draw a circle on there. It doesn't really matter if you get a perfect circle because as you're filling that in with paint, you can always kind of reshape your circle a little bit. Circles are hard, especially on a surface like this. And I'm just going to go in there. I'm trying not to disturb any of the Antique Wax by Waverly, but the Posca pens in general work really well. So my circle is not super symmetrical. So once I got it on there, I did kind of go around the edges, try to make it look a little bit more like a circle if I can. And we're also going to add some bees to this before we add our spring florals. I think that looks really cute. I'm going to use those same wooden beads that I got on Amazon. I have got those before at Dollar Tree. Have any of you guys seen them at Dollar Tree this year? I have not found them, but somebody may have wiped them out before I got there. And they do have little stickers on them, but for crafting, I like it to be a little bit stronger, so I just peel those off, add a little bit of hot glue. I find that that works a little bit better. And I'm going to scatter them around the beehive like they are coming into the beehive, kind of in a random pattern, wherever I think one looks really good. I was trying to decide if I usually like to work with odd numbers, so I was thinking 3, but then I went in and decided to add 4 because I thought they looked really cute. And we're going to do a nice spring flower in this vase to kind of go with the bee theme. I really like using yellow flowers if I can, or white and yellow flowers with bees. I think it really goes well with the theme and looks really cute for spring. So I think 4 is definitely enough. It's looking really cute. I've made a similar beehive vase like this with Dollar Tree rope in a previous DIY video, a much larger version of this. This is kind of a smaller scale, and I think this vase I found at Dollar Tree works perfectly. So I just put a little bit of sand there in the bottom of my vase, and I found these little mini daisies that are yellow and brown, so I think they're perfect for the bee theme. I'm just going to cut them apart, making sure to leave the greenery on them, kind of just scooting that up, and we're going to fill this all the way up. I probably didn't need to use all of them, but I wanted it to be nice and full, so I went ahead and used them all. I have so many extra florals in my crafting stash. I really need to use them all sometimes. And that looks really cute. I'm going to give them a little blow dry to make sure that they are not bent and they're looking their best. And here it is, our little beehive or bee skep vase. Kind of a smaller version of this, but I really like it. If you can find one of those vases from the Dollar Tree, it's going to work really well for this project. And it's great if you don't have a lot of room for display, or I think this would be really cute on a bee tier tray as well. And we do have a bee tier tray coming up later in today's video where I give you lots of fun bee tier tray DIY ideas. Okay, next DIY. This one was so easy. So I found this little hexagon shaped box. It's kind of like a geode background. And as you can see, it's not put together well, but that is going to be easier for us, right? So I'm just popping the back of it off. And we're going to get this cool frame that's like kind of large enough to kind of sit on its side. And this is the back of it. Now, I don't really want to cover that crazy design up with my burlap. I think you might be able to see it through. So it's going to need to be the back. So I'm just going to take some cheap wood contact paper from the Dollar Tree, and we're just going to cover that up so that it'll have a nice finished back. And then I just use sandpaper to go around all of the edges, and it's going to give you a quick, easy cut. Now we can decorate this backside, which was just the plain brown. It's going to work way better with the burlap. And for this one, since we're doing like that hexagon shape, you know, the honeycomb, I thought it would be perfect to use some more of this burlap. I think it's so pretty. I am loving all of the burlap from Dollar Tree. Is so fun. And I used to have to go to, you know, Walmart to get plain burlap, but not only do they have the plain burlap in the brown and the white, they also have all these fabulous prints. So I just kind of sketched that out on the back of my burlap, and so I'll know exactly where to cut this out. And we're just going to cover the back of the sign with this fabric, and then we can decorate it even more. This was a really easy one to put together, but it turned out so cute. So that looks pretty good, and we are ready to Mod Podge. Whenever I Mod Podge burlap, I do a heavy coat because I really kind of want it to seep through that burlap and help it seal on. And I'm also trying to line up the edges. I don't really want any of that fabric to stick out once we reattach the frame. I'm gonna go over the top of it with Mod Podge as well to make sure it is good and sealed. Now, before you do your next step on this one, you're gonna wanna kinda dry that, let that set up a little bit so that your next item is going to stick. I also do a quick trim to make sure no fabric is coming over the edges. Now we can reattach the front of this. It came off really clean, only like maybe a couple tiny pieces of paper that I had to pick off of that. But we're just going to attach that with hot glue. The hot glue is going to kind of seep down into the burlap and glue this back to the base on the back. And whenever I can pop the frame off these Dollar Tree items before I cover them with fabric or a texture on the back, it's so good when they come apart easily like that because you can kind of just pop them all back together. it's going to look a little bit more professional, I think, in the end because I get a perfect cut and it's all sealed in there. No fraying or anything on this one. Now, this is what we're going to put in there. Look at this little bee gnome from Dollar Tree. He is so perfect. Instead of like the bee stripes on the little gnome hat, this little guy has like a polka dot pattern, but still super cute. And I thought he would fit perfectly in here. Isn't that cute? Like he fits right inside the edge. So I'm going to glue it to the bottom. Also gluing it to the honeycomb fabric. And I don't think he needs anything else with his design. He's got little wings. So cute. Now, I did think that, the frame is that kind of unfinished wood just here on the front edges. And I like to try to paint that if I can, make it look a little bit better. So I'm just using bright yellow and a makeup sponge from Dollar Tree and sponging that on. Now, since it is like a kind of a MDF kind of wood, it really soaks up the paint. So as you can see, it kind of fades right in. So I'm just going to go over all of the edges just a couple of times until it brightens it up and really kind of makes that pop and just a fun detail. Now, I think I'm going to use this as kind of like a shelf sitter in my home. So it doesn't really need a hanger or anything on it, but I thought we could use some real flower to kind of make his flower look even cooler, kind of give him that 3D vibe. So these are the little yellow wildflowers. Now, I'm cutting off the stem. I thought maybe I could try gluing it on here. Usually when you cut the stem off like that, the flower kind of wants to fall apart a little bit, which is what I was finding on this one, but that's okay. I kind of want to add another layer anyway, so I'm just going to pop another one on there and kind of like stagger them to completely cover up the flower on the back. The only thing now is I kind of need a centerpiece to that, and I just wanted something subtle, and one of these little velvet thumbtacks from the Dollar Tree I think is going to be perfect because I can actually literally just push it in there. It's just the right size for the middle of the flower. It's just going to add another little texture and touch. And so it is a little hard to push in the wood, so I just use a hammer and nail that in. It was a fun way to take like a little wood sign like this from the Dollar Tree, add it to something else and make it really special. I love, of course, the honeycomb shape of the little house. And then the honeycomb cells in the background would be really cute too. If you don't have that exact one, I think you could probably take a yellow paint pen and paint them on pretty easily as well, but super cute. For this bee DIY, I found this little wood cutout from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. It is a wood honeycomb, and it's already got like the wood honeycomb pattern cut out like this with the bee on there. So a lot of the work's already done for me. But I wanted to see if I can combine a couple items and really make this item pop. So the first thing I need to do is paint this. I'm going to use a bright yellow acrylic paint, and I'm just using a makeup sponge, and I'm just going to go all over here and paint our honeycomb yellow. I want to combine a couple different signs together to really kind of make this extra special. And again, you can find a lot of like hexagon shaped signs from the Dollar Tree that would work for this. So I kind of went around, I was trying to avoid my bee, if I could, from painting it yellow. So I did go in here with a tiny brush and try to get some of the honeycomb. But again, when these signs are attached together like this, it becomes kind of inevitable that you're going to get some paint on there. So I did, and I just decided to embrace it and paint the entire thing yellow. Now, I do want it to be wood looking though. So once it's yellow, I went over it with some antique wax by Waverly. I didn't want this one to be super colorful. You could if you wanted, but I wanted the wings to kind of look like a stained wood and kind of an opaque looking material. And then I decided to do the whole bee that color because I kind of liked the way that it was looking, the antique wax by Waverly over the yellow paint. So I just go in and try not to get any on the back if I can, and just do the little legs and of course the wings there of it. And then I can go back in and wipe off the excess stain, and a little bit of the yellow pops through, but of course I did get a little antique wax by Waverly where I didn't want it. So I'm going to go in with some more yellow and kind of touch up our little honeycomb cell to make it look a little bit better. Now, the next item I wanted to add was another one of the hexagon signs from the Dollar Tree, the wood slat. This one's black. And I also want to have some burlap behind it as well. For the burlap, I'm using one of the faux burlap bags from Dollar Tree. I love crafting with these. You can just cut the front and the back off of these and you have a great sheet of faux burlap. It's got like a light plastic coating on the back, so it's easy to cut. It doesn't fray or anything like that, and it's great for crafting. So I just cut the front panel off, cut the handle out, and I have a great piece of burlap. This is this cute little hexagon sign with the wood bead hanger on the top. And I want to see if I can combine this together with the honeycomb pattern. And this is going to be the sign for the back. Now I notice even though it is like a faux burlap, you can still see through it. And I could see that the frame is not black. And so I'm going to go in and paint it black so it will all look the same when it is behind, because the other hexagon sign is wider than that back sign. It needs the entire black background, including the frame. So I just go in there with some black acrylic paint and paint that. I'm glad I noticed that before I started attaching the burlap on there, because that would probably bother me. So once I got that painted black, I can cover the entire thing with burlap. I'm just going to go in there with some hot glue, put hot glue all along the edges. I did half of it at a time so my hot glue wouldn't set up, and just laid my faux burlap on there. I can always go back and cut it down to size once I get it attached. And even though it's got that plastic backing on there, you can still hot glue with it. It's a really thin plastic coating on the back. And then I did the same thing here with the bottom. Wanted to make sure that it was really secure. And this is going to be a great backdrop for the yellow honeycombs. Now that I have it glued, I'm just going to go in here and cut off my excess burlap. And again, the great thing about these bags is that you don't have to deal with a burlap fraying, so you don't have to seal the edges or anything like that when you go about cutting them. That's a nice neutral background, I think, for this honeycomb. See, I want to sit it right on top like that. And that's why I needed the frame too, because it's a slightly bigger than this back sign. To attach it, I'm just going to put it all together with hot glue. I just do hot glue along the outer edges. And I'm going to have to do it all at once so I can just sit it on there and glue it down. Just like that. I love the burlap backdrop. I think that looks really cute. Now, I like the wood bead hanger on this one, but I thought it needed to be painted or distressed, so I decided to kind of just flip it over, use some antique wax by Waverly on those wood beads, using a brush to get down in there and wipe off the excess stain. Easy peasy. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to detach the hanger or anything like that. And then I thought the last thing it needed was a flower. I found these really cute, like white and yellow cone flowers from the Dollar Tree. Goes great with the bee theme. And I'm going to use one of those to decorate this little honeycomb cell as well. I think that looks really cute. I think maybe up here in the corner. I'm going to cut it down a little bit so it doesn't stick out quite as much, and just attach that with hot glue. And I think it's so cute. So you can find a little honeycomb cutout sign like this from the Dollar Tree. And this is a fun way to craft with it. You really never know what you're going to find in the crafter square as far as their wood signs, but this was a really fun find. I like it. And I liked the fact that it had the honeycomb cutout on there. Layering it with another hexagon sign like that from the Dollar Tree is great, because then you can add a background, which I love, you know, burlap and rope for my bee craft. So I think burlap looks just really fun back there. And adding a flower is always a fun little pop of color. And then up next, we're going to do a little honeycomb wall hanging using these signs from the Dollar Tree. The top sign, brand new. I've never seen those before. It's great because they kind of changed the image and made it more bee theme, right? The other one was more like had a saying, just some black drawings of some flowers, but I think it coordinates well too. So I'm just going to glue the two together to kind of form that cool honeycomb shape. And I love the bee part, so we're going to leave that alone, but we will kind of disguise the bottom to kind of make them go together. Now, they're kind of a heavy sign. I want to make a sign that I can hang, so I want to make sure this is secure. So I'm also going to reinforce it on the back a little bit, just with some popsicle sticks. I just cut down a couple pieces, and we're just going to hot glue that right on the seam. And I love that they changed these signs up because, you know, us crafters, we love crafting with these and trying to make them our own. I actually used one of these to spell out the word bee on my coffee bar video. And usually we're always trying to kind of disguise what's already on there, but the one with the bee stuff on there is perfect. So I take some Dollar Tree twine. I am just going to make some knots on each side. We're just going to make a simple hanger because I want this to be a hanging bee sign decor. And then just using my staple gun, we're just going to staple this on both sides. I went back and forth whether I should cover the middle part of the honeycomb with like some fabric or some burlap or something like that. And I couldn't decide whether I should or not. I did want to do it like a bee and a flower though. And so I'm going to leave it open. You'll have to let me know in the comments below if you think I should put something under there because maybe I still can, right? And so I just use one of these little flowers from the Dollar Tree, a cute little sunflower just off of an arrangement of those from the Dollar Tree. And I just hot glued it over to one of the corners of like that open hexagon area. But I don't want to cover any of the cute bee stuff that's going on at the top. Now, these are from like the spring and garden section at Dollar Tree. These are the little chalkboard ornaments, but they have a bee shape. Isn't it cute? And I thought he might be just the right size to kind of cover up the writing that's now kind of upside down here on the bottom. Because the rest of like the black flower sketches are going to coordinate well with the top sign, which kind of has that feel too. I just kind of need to disguise that part right there that has the writing. Now the black chalkboard sign is really black, so I'm going to work on just the plain wood side. I thought that would be easier to paint and personalize. And we're just going to fill in the hole in the ornament, you know, with some spackle. And then we can start painting this. I am using kind of a brighter yellow color. I think this is called bright yellow. Acrylic paint and just going over the body of the bee. And then using a tiny brush and some black, we're going to go in and give him some little black antennae. And then for the wings, I couldn't decide what to do. I kind of wanted something more translucent, but I kind of want that wood feel too to go with some of our other DIYs today. So I do Antique Wax by Waverly, but I kind of follow that up with a baby wipe right away to give me a light stain. And I think this turned out cute. You could also do like a gray stain or something like that with acrylic. That would be cute as well. And now there are little lines on there, like little cutouts. So I'm kind of going to use those as reference to kind of paint some little bee stripes on our little bee. And then maybe one here at the bottom too, where you would have like a little bee stinger. I'm not going to do a face or anything. I kind of want more of an abstract look, but I do kind of want to bring out some more details in it. So I use a black paint pen. And we're just going to kind of sketch out our body parts. Just to add a little bit more color and definition to them. Now on the wings, you could do like some lines and stuff like that as well. But I kind of already have like that wood grain on there. So I'm just going to kind of outline them as well to kind of make them pop. And then we can add this cute little wood bee ornament to our little honeycomb. I love those signs. The only thing I don't like about them is I wish that they nested together a little bit better so you could kind of stack them on top of each other, you know, both going the same direction, and you could kind of build whatever shape you wanted. But this is one way you can use them together to kind of make a fun bee shape. So I was trying to determine which way I kind of want to, you know, tilt him, how he's going to work, and how he can cover up the words that are just below. I think I like him better this way, so we can just glue him on to the frame of that piece and just glue his wings on there and a quick affix to that little area of the sign. But I like the rest of it. I love the top part with the little beehive, the bee happy, and the bee. It's so cute. Now you can kind of still see where I spackled in the ornament hanger. hole and it was bothering me. So I took some Dollar Tree twine and just tied off like the tiniest little bow. It's going to have to be tiny for this guy. And I'm just going to glue that over the top. It's going to add just another fun texture and decor piece, but it's also going to serve the purpose of kind of disguising that hole there in it. And here is our little Be Happy sign. I think this is so cute. And it would look great for spring or summer. But isn't this cute? I think this would be pretty with any kind of like a yellow flower, since you've got all those yellow flowers in the sign. And these are just like the honeycomb signs like this. Of course, they've had them for the bee, and now they've had them like just the regular decor. You can always, replace whatever's on the background too. I've done that too. I've painted it, decoupage different things on it. Putting them together like this to form a big honeycomb cell is a really fun way to display this craft. I really like how that turned out. For this bee DIY, I found this great like honeycomb pattern golden frame from the Dollar Tree. I thought we can make something fun, a bee themed with this. So again, I'm just going to remove the glass, the back, the staples, and anything like that. And I want to make another kind of see-through sign with a chicken wire, so it kind of looks a little bit like a honeycomb cell. I actually found this chicken wire at Dollar Tree. I know it can be a little hard to find there, but I wish they would carry it more often because it's really fun for crafting, especially for spring. So what I want to do is I'm using my little floral like wire scissors there from the Dollar Tree, and I am cutting this down to size here where I can fit it on the back of the frame. Now I want to attach this, whenever I craft with chicken wire, I always like to use staples for that. I think it's a little bit more durable. The only problem I had with this DIY is that the frame is from the Dollar Tree, so of course it's kind of thin. So some of my staples did come through, and you could see I do end up masking them a little bit, but I might have been better off trying to glue this on. I just don't know if glue would keep chicken wire on. Have you ever had any success with that? I just went ahead and tried to staple on the thickest part of it I could, and I was like, I will just go back and try to repair any damage that I can, but I need a way to attach it. I want to make sure that the wire is cut down enough too that you can't see it from the sides. So once I get it all attached, I do trim it up as well. And I think it's looking really cute. It is silver though, and the frame is like honeycomb pattern with gold. So I thought we would do a gold bee DIY with this one, kind of go with that gold theme. The first thing I do is just glue down one of the little wood chalkboard bees here to the honeycomb cell like this. And I thought I could just paint the whole thing at once. So I went ahead and glued that on there. That way I can paint the bee gold and I can paint the chicken wire gold too. I have some gold spray paint. So I'm just going to take it outside and spray the whole thing gold. That way everything will be one finish and match that gold frame. So this is what it looks like with the little gold bee on there, the little gold honeycombs. But again, I could see damage on there from my staples, which I kind of knew was going to happen. So I do need to mask it. To mask it, you could use rope or something like that. I had some of this really cute little honeycomb ribbon from the Dollar Tree that is like a thinner ribbon like this. I thought this would work really well. So what I'm going to do is just frame out the inside of the frame with that. Just to kind of cover up the staples, I wanted to make sure that none of that came through. If you were to use a thicker frame, you probably wouldn't have as much trouble with this. I also wanted to make sure that you couldn't really see the hot glue through this ribbon, so I used tacky glue for this to glue it down. And just cut a piece down for each side and glued that on there. I really love the gold feel for bee crafts. I think it's a really fun theme. If you're not going to do like straight yellow and black, gold can be really fun as well. So I just kind of took my time and used the tacky glue, making sure everything was cut down and dry. Now to cover the little hole there in the little bee, I'm just going to do a little bow. I actually had some yellow and white baker's twine that I got at the Dollar Tree. That kind of goes with the yellow and white feel. So I just tied a little bow there and just going to attach that to that hole with a little bit of hot glue to dress it up. And I decided to use that same yellow and white twine to make a hanger here. Just stringing it to the chicken wire, tying that off, and I have a cute little hanging sign. Really fun and whimsical. Again, it's combining like the honeycomb shape of the chicken wire, the honeycomb frame, and a little bee as well. And the ribbon too is a fun touch. Now I found that the chicken wire at the Dollar Tree, definitely a fun find, but not something that I do find there a lot. If you do have some or have access to some, it can make a really fun honeycomb pattern like this and make a really fun, kind of like see-through sign like this one. Really cute. I found these cute little bee signs at the Dollar Tree. The only problem are that they are small, right? So I thought I could take 3 of them, put them together, try to make it a little bit more substantial. So just using a pair of pliers, we're just going to remove the rope from the back. So we have be nice, be kind, and let it be. Now, I don't want to cover up that cool wood burning on them. I want to be able to use that to paint it. So I made just a really watered down yellow acrylic, and we're just going to kind of whitewash these with that thinned out paint. I'm going over everything, and as you can see, you can still see that wood burn through there. I'm just kind of wiping off the excess there with a paper towel. And I was trying to decide if I was just going to leave the wood burn kind of look on there. And you totally could do that, or if I wanted to paint it. I thought it ended up being a little plain, and so I did end up painting everything that I could see stamped on there black to kind of give me that yellow and black color scheme. So doing that same whitewash on all of these. And I want good coverage, but I think that's going to be enough for right now. I can always add more later. Now, I started with a black paint pen, and it worked. The only problem was, I don't know why my paint pen, maybe because I was using a fine tip, it was kind of splattering and getting little specks of black paint all over it. So I'm just going to kind of remove that. I used a wet wipe and then some cleaner to try to remove that paint on there. And I'm going to try a different method to make those black just because I didn't want the spatter on there. So I tried to clean that up, give it another couple coats of that yellow whitewash to kind of cover up the black paint. And I switched it up to a black Sharpie. Gave me a lot more control and none of that splattering. So I'm just going to sketch out the little bee. You can see the shape perfectly through and the little wings. And I'm also going to sketch out the words for let it be. And I'm glad that I decided to make these black. I think they're a lot easier to read than if I would have just left the wood burnings. And yellow and black is always great for bee decor. So we're going to do the same thing here on our Be Kind sign. And I found that one of my Sharpies, that first one I used, was a little on the older side. So I switched it up to a newer Sharpie. This one was a little bit cleaner. And I'm able to do that really fun font. So this is just a fun way. If you find some of these little bee signs, I got them at the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree, how you can kind of take them and put them together, make a bigger piece. Even with 3 of them together, it's still not big. They're just really small. As you can tell, I have really small hands, and it's about the same size as my hand. So I'm going to touch this one up because that one kind of had the older Sharpie. And 2 of these also have a honeycomb pattern on there. And I kind of like that. So I'm going to go in and sketch that out with the black Sharpie as well. But the Sharpie was definitely the way to go with this one. Really easy to draw everything out. And I think it all turned out looking really good, actually. So this one had honeycomb pattern on the top of it. So we're just going to draw those all in there too. And then I want to kind of break up that perfect black by whitewashing it some more because I want it to look old and weathered and distressed. So I just go over all of the black Sharpie with another coat of that yellow whitewash. And that really gave it a cool vibe. There is a lot of water in that paint, so I got to try to make sure I get this dry. And this is what it looks like right now. Just trying to make sure I have an even level of yellow on there, and then we can put these together. was trying to decide if I wanted my honeycombs to meet up like that or to be opposite like that. And I decided opposite. So I'm going to put the 3 together, all kind of interlocking like that. And we can make a fun little wall hanging. I'm just going to use hot glue to attach them to each other. They're pretty square as fitting together. So I was happy with that. And I'm going to glue the 3rd one on right there. It's looking pretty good. I like the yellow and the black. I am going to distress it a little bit more with another coat of the yellow whitewash, just because I really kind of like that vibe, and dry that over the top of it. I did end up wanting to make a hanger for the back. I was trying to decide like if I should use one of these little hooks from the Dollar Tree. I ended up using twine. I thought it would be the easiest way to hang it. I could attach it to 2 signs because it has such an abnormal top. And then that way I can kind of adjust it left to right to make it hang level. That was what I was worried about. So I just took a piece of twine and tied a knot in each end. And I'm just going to hot glue that on the back of the 2 signs, kind of at a level point. Now, I did want a little bit more contrast. I had used that yellow whitewash for the frame as well, but I thought it was just a little bit too much yellow. So I decided to paint the frames black. I'm just going to do that with a black paint pen. Simple enough. I just go over the front of them. Just trying to make sure that I don't get any on the images themselves. And that provided a nice, black frame for these to kind of break them up a little bit. I do like the fact that I use the yellow whitewash and kind of made it look more subtle on the designs. But I do like the addition of the bold black for the frames. Definitely just provides another color, a little bit more contrast on this one. So I just painted the front edge of all of them, but then I decided that I probably should paint the sides too, because it's going to be hanging on the wall. You'll be able to see the sides too. And one thing I love about bee decor, I started in the spring, but it's definitely something you can leave up all summer. I know some people do it for the summer. So a very versatile item to decorate with, and always lots of fun. But these frames are really cute. I just think on their own, it's just going to be a really small sign if you're only going to do one of them. So I like the idea of doing 3 of them and putting them together like this. I think it really helped make it more substantial. So that's how it turned out. And another fun find from the Crafter Square with these little honeycomb signs. When I first found them, I was like, oh, they're too small to really do anything with for a wall hanging. But I really like how they turned out. And, they have the wood burning on there. So you can just kind of give it a whitewash with yellow paint is what I did. So you could still see the design come through. Up next, we're going to decorate a tier tray with a bee theme. It's definitely one of my favorite themes for a tier tray. This is the tier tray we're going to be DIYing today. The first thing I'm going to do is make a little mini banner. I love a little mini banner for any kind of a tier tray. And I found this great yellow and black striped ribbon from the Dollar Tree. This was just in the Crafter Square, but I thought it would be perfect for a bee theme. And what I want to do is cut out some little triangle shapes like that. I can actually use the finished part of the ribbon on the edges for a nice top on these. And I just want to cut down some little triangular pieces to make a little mini pennant banner. I love to hang that on one of the tiers. It's a fun way to dress up your tier tray. You can also wrap them with ribbon. My rectangular wood tier trays, though, I think they look a little bit better when you kind of have something going across the front of one of the tiers like this. It's going to be a very simple little pennant banner. Once I get them all cut down, I just take a piece of twine that I cut down to size for the front of my tier, and I'm just going to attach them with hot glue, trying to make sure that they're evenly spaced out. And then I can attach that to my tier tray with just a dot of hot glue on each side. Pretty lightweight and an easy way to attach it. Whenever I do pennant banners like this, I try to do an odd number. Think that it looks better when you have an odd number, so 3 or 5 or something like that. So I'm going to do 5 for this one. Little bee mini banner, super cute, and we can start decorating the tier tray. This is how I attached it to the top tier. For filler, I'm going to use a little bit of greenery. I got this greenery at Dollar Tree. I think it's so cute. And I thought I could cut it into some little pieces here to make some fun foliage for this tier tray. But I didn't want to cut it into too many pieces. I kind of like the fact that it's a vine like this. I'm going to put like one piece up here on the top tier. I think that looks really cute, and I can use the rest on the bottom. The next item, I don't even have to craft. I got this as a Target dollar spot. It's a little beehive, and it's got like a wood finish. I think it's so cute, and it's just the right size for a tier tray, so we're going to add this here. And I had a couple items I got at Target dollar spot for this one. Now, this one I actually got at my grocery store. It's my little honey pot. I love this thing, but when I was carrying it from here, showing you, I tripped and I broke the top of it, which I was devastated. I had a little bee on there. Here's the remaining pieces of my honey pot. I was so sad, but you know what? It's still cute even without it. It's a little honey pot, and you have like the little honey dipper that came with it too. So I'm still going to use it and put it on the tier tray as well. This item I also got at the Target dollar spot. It's like a little wicker bee. It was $3, but I couldn't pass it up. It's super cute, and I thought it would be the perfect size for a tier tray. And it's kind of like a seagrass material that's all braided in like a tan and like a dark brown. I think it's really cute. I'm just going to trim it up, and this little guy is ready to go. Isn't it adorable? I love it, and I didn't even have to make it, so that makes it even better. I'm going to put it right there, kind of hanging off the side a little bit like he's getting ready to fly away from this bee-themed tier tray. And then, of course, I got to move him a few more times until he's just right. For a little bit more filler, I'm going to use some of these asters from the Dollar Tree. They are a white and yellow flower, so I thought they'd be perfect for the bee theme. I'm just going to give them a quick blow dry to make them look a little bit better, taking them off the stems like this, and I can just kind of scatter these around the tier tray to use as filler. And I love using greenery and flowers and stuff like that on a tier tray. It gives it such a fun feel, especially for spring. These were definitely bent up, so they needed quite a bit of a little blow dry, but after I was done with them, they looked way better. I'm going to go ahead and use all of them. I think I will need that when I'm doing both tiers. So I'm going to place one right over here in front of the honey pot. It's not too tall. You can still kind of see the items behind it. I don't want to cover up too much stuff. And then maybe one back here in the middle where I didn't really have anything. And the top tier is complete of the bee-themed tier tray. So let's start DIYing the bottom. I have more of that vine there from the Dollar Tree that I'm using as filler. I love like kind of the ferny nature of this. I think it's really pretty. I just want that to kind of lay flat. The next item I got at the Dollar Tree, a little Be Humble sign. Isn't this so cute? It is the perfect size for a tier tray. You really don't have to do anything to it. It's painted nicely. It stands on its own, and I love the colors. So we're going to add that little Dollar Tree sign back here. It's tall enough to be a back piece. It's going to fill that up nicely and have some greenery in front. The next item is a little bee planter I got from the Dollar Tree. It's bright yellow with black bee stripes and a little bee on there. It's so busy that I didn't really want to do like busy flowers or anything with it. I thought maybe just some greenery. So I'm going to use some of this like vine garland from the Dollar Tree and kind of DIY like a faux plant. To do that, I just kind of take it all and spiral it all together. But first, I'm going to go ahead and take it off the wire. It made it a little bit easier to work with, but I want to fill up most of the pot with something else. I'm going to use one of those little styrofoam pieces like this. That will fill it up a little bit, but you know what? I have this leftover wire, so I might as well use that for filler too. So it's kind of a bigger pot. I put that on there. I put the foam on top. Now I don't need near as much of this greenery. I'm just going to cut off the ends of this and start putting this together to make a little faux plant. I thought I could like cut off the little stems and place it down into the foam. It'll look like a little house plant, but using some Dollar Tree greenery, it was super easy to do. Just your stems are not really sharp, so I noticed that if I kind of poked it with one of those little screwdrivers first, I can make a little hole there and I could go in and add the greenery to it. I think it'll be a nice simple little faux house plant. Lord knows I don't need any houseplants because I can't keep them alive, but I think that this will be really cute. At first, I was going to leave them all attached and just kind of spiral it along, but I think it does look better if you take the time and take the greenery off and put them in individually like that into little sections. But it filled up this little planter nicely. I'm going to use a little bit of Spanish moss so you can't see any of the foam in there. And we have a great little house plant to go on the tier tray and a bright yellow bee pot. Super cute. It fits perfectly right down here at the bottom, and I'm going to use that towards the back. It's just the right size. The next item I found at the Dollar Tree is a little bee gnome. They have so many cute ones. This one, he's holding a little beehive. It's so cute, and he has a bee on his other hand. Sometimes they are not painted the best, or they're chipped up a little bit, so you might need to take the time to kind of touch up the paint on these. But this one wasn't too bad. This one kind of had a scratched up nose and hands, so I gave it a little bit of paint, but he's really cute on his own, and I love using these little bee gnomes from the Dollar Tree for a tier tray. The next item is a little bee candle that I found at the Dollar Tree. It has a yellow candle in there, it's clear glass, and it has a little bee on it. Isn't this so adorable? It's absolutely perfect size for a tier tray. The colors are great. I absolutely love it. And then I decided I wanted you to be able to see the bee even more. So I decided to use a black paint pen and just kind of, paint over the top of that. It's embossed and you could see it when it wasn't in a tier tray, but I felt like that once I got in the tier tray, you wouldn't be able to see the cute little bee on there. So I decided to sketch it out the best that I could here. Kind of switching to a fine tip there for the leg, so it's not too thick, but you can definitely tell it's a bee now. Maybe a few little stripes on here, some yellow stripes, and now that looks like a really perfect little bee candle for the tier tray. Isn't that so cute? I put the lid back on so it would keep the scent in there, and then I'm going to put that right here in the front. The next item is one of these little stone signs. It's like a garden sign from the Dollar Tree. They have lots of these in different varieties for bee theme. You could use this. You can also use the little stepping stones. This one is so cute. It's got a little beehive. It's got some bees on there and a flower. Again, sometimes these aren't painted the best and you might want them to look a little bit better. I love the shape of the sign though. So I'm just going to use my paint pen and touch up the bee. You can also change the color of things if you want, like the flowers and stuff like that. But a quick little touch up, and this is a perfect size sign for a tier tray. And I definitely think the flowers look better in white and yellow. It kind of goes with the flowers that I used on there. And this is how it looks after I gave it a quick little makeover. And I think it's going to be perfect as a leaner sign here against the center pole of my tier tray. Very cute, just like that. Then we can use the rest of those flowers for filler. We've already got the greenery down there. Kind of scatter those around wherever kind of need something here for this bee themed tier tray. Isn't it so cute? This was such an easy DIY. I found a couple items at Target Dollar Spot. The honey pot actually came from my grocery store. It's already done. And then the rest of the items, of course, are from the Dollar Tree. You could probably find some cute stuff at Dollar General as well. But pretty easy. I didn't have a lot of overcrowding on this tray, which I kind of like. Anytime I can bring in greenery and flowers, especially for a spring or a summer tier tray, it's going to make it really cute. And a bee theme is such a common theme that you can find some really cute items to decorate your bee tier tray. I really hope you enjoyed all of today's Bee Dollar Tree DIYs. Let me know your favorites down in the comments below, or just come say hello. This is my QR code that you can scan with your phone camera if you would like to buy me a coffee, and I hope you enjoy the final reveal.
In a world of green, just like a dream, you and I standing wild and free, with petals so golden, the sun's warm kiss, a love so strong, a bliss. Whispers of the breeze, secrets unfold. It's you that I need, it's you that I want. When the world gets cold, it's you toughest of times, we still stand strong. Through pavement we will grow. Forever we will grow. Deep within your eyes, I found a home. The love that we share can never grow. In your gaze, the world looks bright. Forever by your side. This town is quiet, serene and wide. You keep me warm and safe at night. No matter the season, we always bloom. 'Cause you light up the gloom. Oh, dandelion, the strength that you've shown. Stronger each year, look how we hold on. Through the toughest of times, we still stand strong. Through pavement we will grow. Oh, dandelion, the strength that you've shown. Stronger each year, look how we hold on. Through the toughest of times, we still stand strong. Through pavement we will grow. Forever we will grow. Forever we will grow. Come a little closer. I wanna dance with you. Everything's moving slower. I don't know what it is you do. I've been looking at you all night, trying to figure you out. I just wanna make you smile. Hold your hand in my hand, looking at the sunset. Man, you're looking good tonight. I wanna kiss you before the sun goes down. It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling. And when you're moving, I can hear my calling. There's no one else here that I see but you. It's what you're doing that's making me feel like I'm falling. Yeah, I'm falling in love. Falling in love. You set my wheels in motion. I'm going crazy for you. Eyes blue like the ocean. I can see you want this too. 'Cause you've been looking at me all night, trying to figure me out. I just wanna let you know. And I ain't playing no games, baby, you won't change. I only want you. I wanna kiss you before the sun goes down. It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling. And when you're moving, I can hear my calling.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's bee crafting marathon. And I would also like to give a huge thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel and how long they've been the member. Thank you so much to Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brult, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, Renee Albanese, Pal Puppy Life, Jenny, Debbie Austin, Lizette Thomas, Amy Branham, Mary Renzel Park. Thank you guys so much for supporting my channel. They get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube as a thank you for being a member. Now, if you'd like even more bee craft DIYs, I've got you covered. Check out one of these DIY videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting!